Okay, let's have a little discussion about Gabriel Martinelli. Of course, I'm sure most of you have seen the report that's come out from The Athletic. I believe it is a Jordan Campbell of The Athletic who wrote the article. And basically what the article was, it was going in depth about Arsenal this season, breaking down how they've evolved, going through some of their tactics. And the reason why this article has been fairly popular is because some insights have been given from opposing managers and people within the game who analyse Arsenal very in depth. Breaking down Arsenal this season, the pros, the cons, the strengths, the weaknesses. And there was a certain segment in the article which stood out. It was about Gabriel Martinelli, comparing him to Saka. And I believe it was from an opposing manager in the Premier League who gave this quote. I'll put the quote on the screen now because I can't really remember it off the top of my head. But to paraphrase, this manager was basically comparing how difficult it is to defend against Saka because he has more facets to his game, compared to a Gabriel Martinelli who's more one-dimensional and easier to control. And it's sort of bringing up some concerns I've had with Martinelli for a while, and I'm just going to put it out there. I love Martinelli, and I think the whole Arsenal fan base does love Martinelli, which is why it makes it very difficult to talk about Martinelli in this way, because we have this strong connection to him since he joined the club. But I do think we have to be a little bit honest with ourselves, admit that this season has stank a little bit for him. I think it's become a little bit stale for him at times. Do I think we need to get rid of him, sell him? No. But I do think that we need to start realising that as much as we love him, there might be better out there than him. And I only say that because, yes, you can't just judge a young player based off one season. I think we know Martinelli is a really good player and there's still a much higher ceiling to his game. But I do think it's slightly concerning when you're trying to go for the major honours and you've got opposing managers in the Premier League looking at him as being more easily controlled compared to a Saka. Now, Saka's one of the best in the game. Don't listen to rival fans who will say, he doesn't turn up in big games, this, that and the other. It's bollocks. Bukayo Saka's one of the best in the game, especially one of the best wingers. Top 3 right wingers. Look, you can have your debates between Saka and Rodrigo, but there's no doubt that after Salah, it's pretty scarce. But let's just go back to Martinelli, because this article was basically saying defending against Arsenal is very difficult because you know you're eventually going to get broken down and you just have to stick it out for 90 minutes. And it also goes into how Arteta's evolved and he focuses on such details in the game, changing the tempo, starting off fast sometimes starting off slow, just to set a tone in the game. These are just small parts of the article. I'll leave the link in the description. Go read it for yourself. You're going to need to get a subscription with The Athletic, hence why I've not read the full thing. I've just seen snippets. But yeah, back to the Martinelli thing. I didn't really want to do this video, but it's something that's been lingering on my mind since before this season began, and I do think it's slightly concerning when you look at other left wingers in world football, and there's a lot of talented left wingers. And I do think Arteta's hinted his somewhat his stance on the whole Martinelli situation, and I think that was seen when he was very ambitious with wanting to go for Mikhailo Mudryk. I don't think you can be prepared to spend around 75-80 million, I think it was, for a relatively unproven winger in Ukraine if you solely believe in what you already have. Yes, competition's key. We've seen that in Pep Guardiola teams. We're seeing that this season under Arteta. And I'm not suggesting that bringing in a new left winger would mean get rid of Martinelli, because I think competition is key. You need to have different options all around the pitch. But if we're talking about an out-and-out left winger, how many times this season have we looked at Gabriel Martinelli and thought, yeah, you've been the man in this game? Because honestly, off the top of my head, while he scored some goals, massive drop off from last season, but still scored some goals, I've never come away from a game this season thinking, wow, Martinelli was unplayable today. And that's a slight concern, because this is a season straight off challenging for the title last season. And by the way, 15 goals in your breakout season in the Premier League is some going. And I think a lot of people also forget that Martinelli was the man who stood up in the second half of the season during the tough running of games that we had. But we're here now in the present, and we can only discuss what's happening now in the present. And I hope this video comes back to haunt me, and I hope I'm proven wrong. But I do worry about Martinelli in this Arsenal team. I do think that we can find better. Like I've said numerous times in this video, that does not mean sell Martinelli. That does not mean I hate Martinelli. But it does mean I'm being real with the situation. I think we can get better. Who is better than Martinelli? 15 goals in the league last season. Who's more direct? Who's scarier running back at a fullback at full-blown pace? Maybe none. Martinelli is one of the best at being so direct, so quick, so confident. But I do feel like we need a player of inevitability in our front three, whether that be a striker or a left winger. We're not going to get rid of Saka. Rafael Leao, while his numbers might not be the same as Martinelli's, I get that. You put him in this team with Mikel Arteta as the manager. After a couple of bangers, cutting him from the left onto his right foot, I think we realised the difference, because I do feel like we're missing that in the team, and that proved against Bayern Munich, right? For starters, on Martinelli, he didn't show up, and while people say, yes, he's just come back from injury, he played against Bayern how he has all season, and that's the worrying thing for me. It weren't just, oh, this is a performance of a player who's just come back from an injury. It just looked like Martinelli of this season, and that's what concerned me. And it let me down a little bit. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that the players on the left-hand side of the pitch are not to the same level as the players on the right-hand side. For example, Saliba, Ben White, Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka. That's a very strong right-hand side. You've got Ben White constantly overlapping. You've got Martin Odegaard dictating play from the right-hand side. You've got Saliba, who's a rock in defence, very good at ball playing. And you've got Saka, who, look, we know what Saka is. The left-hand side, you've got Gabriel, who, yes, a beast, probably our best defender of the season. We can all acknowledge that Gabriel's ball playing is not the greatest. That was highlighted in this article, in fact. It was said that Gabriel can be pressed because it takes a bit longer for him to read a situation, which I think we all know is true. We've also chopped and changed with the left-back. Of course, it started with Jurriën Timber. Then Zinchenko's played minutes, but he's not really looked at it this season. We've had Kivior come in. We've had Tomiyasu come in. So you've also got to consider Granit Xhaka's not there in the left 8 anymore. We've chopped and changed with that. Havertz played there at the start. Struggled there as well. Which might have had an effect on Martinelli. Nonetheless, are we going to keep making excuses constantly, looking at all these other players, when we should be looking at Gabby and just saying, come on, man. When you're getting the ball, you're not making the right decisions. You're not impacting games when we need you to. And while that's fair enough for a few games in a row, at what point do you say, we've got 7 games left and I can't think of a game you've played emphatically in? I might be wrong. I could be missing one. And if I am, put it in the comments. But I just can't think. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. Because I know this is a touchy subject, because we all love him. And I know, I can just go through Twitter and you can see the reactions from fans when people are sort of expressing their concern around Martinelli. People get very sensitive about it. And I understand it, because we love Martinelli. Like I've said a billion times, I just have to get it in there just one more time in case someone starts crying in the comments about this video. But I'm going to leave it at that. I think I've outlaid as much context to this situation as possible. When the summer approaches, I think I'm going to do a video based on what type of left winger I would want, and I think I'm going to do that because I do want a left winger. I'm just going to be honest. But for now, I think I've spoken about this Martinelli thing in enough detail from the article. like I said, if you want to go read the article in full, go read it. If you like this video, give it a like. Go follow me on Twitter as well. I'll put my @ in the description. That's enough from me. Take care. I'll see you soon.